The morning sunlight cut through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Cross Industries like a blade, illuminating Luna Matthews as she stood before Damien Cross's mahogany desk. She clutched her tablet against her chest, a shield between herself and the man who had looked through her for 2 years. Damien's steel-gray eyes never left the contracts spread before him. The Santorini project. $50 million writing on his signature. "Clear my schedule for next week," he said, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had never been told no. "We're flying to Greece." Luna's heart stopped. "We? I need someone to handle documentation." He still didn't look up. "Book 2 rooms at the Celestial Santorini Resort. We leave Monday." She should have felt grateful, excited. Instead, rage simmered beneath her skin. 2 years of fetching coffee, organizing files, existing as nothing more than a voice-activated assistant. And now he was dragging her across the world without asking if she had a life beyond serving his needs. "Of course, Mr. Cross," she heard herself say. But as she walked back to her desk, something cracked inside her chest. She caught her reflection in the glass, a woman buried under oversized blazers and thick frames that dominated her face. Her chestnut hair scraped back so severely it looked painted on. That evening, Luna stood in her Brooklyn apartment bathroom and stared at herself with new eyes. The severe bun that had become her prison, the glasses that hid the warm amber of her irises, the shapeless clothes that swallowed any hint of the woman beneath. 2 years, she whispered. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the pins holding her hair. One by one, they clattered into the sink. Waves of rich, glossy hair tumbled past her shoulders. The glasses came off next, revealing eyes that glowed like honey in firelight. Luna smiled at her reflection, and for the first time in years, she recognized herself. "He wants to take me to Santorini?" She touched her face, tracing the delicate features she'd hidden so carefully. "Then let's give him a trip he'll never forget." The decision felt like jumping off a cliff. Terrifying, exhilarating, absolutely necessary. Saturday morning, she walked into a Soho salon with her head high. The stylist's eyes widened as Luna removed her glasses. "I need to look like myself again," Luna said. "Can you help me?" The woman's smile was knowing. "Honey, I'm going to set you free." By Sunday evening, Luna stood before her full-length mirror in a silk blouse the color of emeralds and a charcoal skirt that actually acknowledged she had a body. Her hair fell in waves that caught the light. Makeup enhanced rather than hid, bringing out the gold flecks in her eyes, the natural luminescence of her skin. She looked powerful, dangerous, alive. Monday morning arrived with unseasonable warmth. Luna stepped into the lobby of Cross Industries Tower at exactly 7:45 a.m., just as she had every morning for 2 years. But this time everything was different. The security guard did a double take. "Can I help you, miss?" "It's Luna Matthews, Mr. Cross's assistant." His jaw dropped. I didn't recognize you." "That's the point," she said softly and walked to the elevators. Her heart hammered as the numbers climbed. 37th floor, 38th. The doors opened and there he was. Damien Cross stood in the lobby, phone pressed to his ear, commanding someone's entire existence with clipped words. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass. He walked right past her, didn't even glance in her direction. Luna felt something ice-cold settle in her chest. After everything, after her transformation, he still couldn't see her. "Mr. Cross," she said, her voice steady despite the earthquake inside her. He stopped, turned. His gray eyes met hers for the first time in 2 years, really met them, and she watched his expression shift from irritation to confusion, to something that looked almost like recognition. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone suggesting he absolutely did not want to help her. Luna smiled, slow and deliberate. "Our flight leaves in 3 hours. The car is waiting downstairs." The phone slipped an inch in his hand. "Who are you?" "I'm your assistant, Mr. Cross." She tilted her head. "Luna Matthews, the woman who's been keeping your life organized for the past 2 years. The color drained from his face. "That's impossible. Luna is—" He trailed off, and she could see him scrambling, trying to reconcile the invisible woman with the one standing before him. "Plain?" Luna offered. "Forgettable? Not worth noticing?" "I didn't say that." You didn't have to. She stepped closer, close enough to smell his cologne. Shall we go, Mr. Cross? We have a plane to catch. She walked past him toward the elevators, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Behind her, she heard him exhale, sharp and confused. In the car to the airport, Damien sat across from her, his gaze burning into her like a brand. Luna kept her eyes on her tablet, reviewing documents, acting like his attention meant nothing. Why? He finally asked. She looked up. Why what? Why did you... He gestured vaguely at her. Change? Luna considered lying, considered saying it was time for something new. Instead, she met his eyes and let him see the truth. Because I was tired of being invisible. Tired of being treated like furniture. She paused. Tired of you looking through me like I didn't exist. Something flickered across his face. Shame, maybe, or anger at being called out. I never meant to make you feel that way. Intent doesn't erase impact, Mr. Cross. The rest of the drive passed in loaded silence. At the airport, people stared. At her. Flight attendants smiled warmly. A businessman offered to help with her bag. The attention felt foreign and intoxicating, Damien noticed. She saw his jaw tighten every time someone spoke to her, every time eyes lingered a second too long. Good, she thought. Let him see what he missed. They settled into first class, and as the plane lifted into the sky, Luna felt the last threads of her old life falling away. Across the aisle, Damien was still watching her. We need to talk, he said quietly. When we land. Luna turned to him, her amber eyes glowing in the cabin light. We have nothing to talk about, Mr. Cross. I'm here to work. That's all. But even as she said it, she felt the lie settle between them like smoke, because something had shifted, something dangerous and electric that neither of them could name, and in 6 hours they would land in Santorini, where everything would change again. Santorini hit Luna like a fever dream. White buildings cascaded down volcanic cliffs, their domed roofs the color of the Aegean Sea. The air tasted like salt and possibility. As their car wound through narrow streets toward the celestial resort, she felt Damien's gaze on her profile. Stop staring, she said without looking at him. I'm trying to understand. Understand what? How I missed it. His voice carried something raw. How I worked with you every day and never saw you. Luna turned to him then, her amber eyes sharp. You saw exactly what you wanted to see. An efficient assistant, a problem solver, not a person. The car stopped before the resort, a sprawling paradise of infinity pools and white stone terraces. A woman in an elegant linen suit greeted them, her smile professionally warm. Mr. Cross, Ms. Matthews, welcome to Celestial Santorini. I'm Elena, the resort manager. She gestured toward the entrance. Your suites are ready. Suites? Damien frowned. I requested rooms. Elena's smile never wavered. Yes, sir. We've prepared our finest accommodations. Unfortunately, due to a conference booking, they're in the same villa. Separate wings, of course, but sharing common spaces. Luna watched Damien's jaw tighten. That's not acceptable. I can arrange alternative accommodation, but it would require moving to our sister property, 40 minutes away. Before Damien could respond, Luna spoke. The villa is fine. We're professionals. His gray eyes snapped to her, surprised. But she was already following Elena up the stone pathway, her carry-on in hand. The villa was obscene in its luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the caldera, a private infinity pool that seemed to spill into the sky. White marble everywhere, cool beneath bare feet. Luna's suite opened onto a terrace with views that stole her breath. But it was the shared living space that created the problem. One kitchen, one dining area, one massive living room with couches arranged around a fireplace they'd never use in the Mediterranean heat. Nowhere to hide from each other. That evening, Luna stood on her terrace in a simple white dress, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of amber and rose. She heard the sliding door open behind her. We need to establish boundaries, Damien said. She didn't turn. I thought we already had those. Boss and employee. Simple. Nothing about this is simple anymore. He moved closer, and she could feel the heat of him at her back. You're angry with me. Observant. Luna. The way he said her name, like he was tasting it for the first time, sent electricity down her spine. "Look at me," she turned slowly. He'd changed into a linen shirt, untucked, the sleeves rolled to his elbows. Without the armor of his suit, he looked younger, more human, more dangerous. "For 2 years you treated me like a ghost," Luna said, her voice steady despite the chaos in her chest. "Now suddenly you see me. Because of what? A haircut? A different outfit?" She shook her head. "That says everything about you, Mr. Cross." "You're right." The admission seemed to cost him. "I was blind, arrogant. I looked at you and saw only what you could do for me, not who you were. And now?" He stepped closer, his gray eyes intense. "Now I can't stop seeing you." The air between them crackled. Luna felt her pulse in her throat, behind her eyes, everywhere. This was the moment she'd imagined during her transformation. Him, finally noticing, finally affected. So why did it feel like standing on the edge of a cliff? "It doesn't change anything," she said. "In a week we'll fly home. You'll go back to your penthouse. I'll go back to my desk. This is just geography, Mr. Cross, not a revelation. Stop calling me that. It's your name. You know what I mean." His voice dropped lower. "Say my name. My actual name." Luna's throat went dry. She'd never called him Damien. Not once in 2 years. It felt intimate in a way that terrified her. "No," she whispered. "Why not?" "Because names have power." She moved past him, back toward her room. "And I'm not giving you any more of mine." She left him standing on the terrace, his hands clenched at his sides. But that night, sleep wouldn't come. Luna lay in her enormous bed, listening to the sound of the ocean and the echo of Damien moving through the villa. Around midnight, she heard the splash of water. He was in the pool. She told herself not to look. Told herself to stay in bed. But her body moved of its own accord, drawn to the window. Through the gauzy curtains, she could see him cutting through the water with precise, powerful strokes. His body was all lean muscle and controlled strength. Then he stopped, treading water in the deep end, and looked directly at her window. Luna froze. He couldn't see her. The lights were off, but he stared at her window like he knew exactly where she stood. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from an unknown number. Can't sleep either. Her hands shook as she typed back. "How did you get this number? You're my assistant. I have all your numbers. That doesn't give you permission to use them. I'm not using anything without permission. Luna, I'm asking." She watched him through the window, phone in hand, waiting. Asking what? To talk, just talk. Every instinct screamed at her to say no, to maintain the walls she'd built. But something reckless and hungry inside her typed 3 words. Pool. 5 minutes. She changed into her swimsuit, a simple black one-piece that was practical and unrevealing. As she walked through the villa toward the pool, her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Damien waited in the shallow end, water lapping at his chest. His dark hair was slicked back, droplets catching the moonlight. "Hi," he said quietly. "Hi." Luna sat on the pool's edge, dangling her legs in the water. For a long moment, neither spoke. The night air was warm, perfumed with jasmine and salt. "I built this company from nothing," Damien finally said. "Worked 100-hour weeks, sacrificed everything. Relationships, friends, any semblance of a normal life." He looked at her. "I convinced myself it was worth it. That success justified the isolation. And now? Now I'm sitting in paradise, in a pool that probably costs more than most people's houses, and I feel emptier than I did sleeping on my office floor 10 years ago." Luna's chest tightened. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you asked why I didn't see you." He moved closer, water sloshing gently. "The truth is, I didn't see anyone, including myself." "That's not an excuse." "No, it's an explanation." He stopped right in front of her, close enough to touch. "I'm not asking for forgiveness, Luna. I'm asking for a chance to do better." She should have said no. Should have maintained professional distance. Instead, she slipped into the water, the cool liquid enveloping her like a second skin. They stood inches apart. The the pool lights casting shadows across their faces. 1 week, Luna heard herself say. We have 1 week here. Then we go back to reality. And in that week, we're honest. Completely honest, no games, no pretending. Damien's hand lifted, hovering near her face, asking permission. When she didn't move away, his fingers brushed her cheek, tucking a wet strand of hair behind her ear. I've been playing games my whole life, he said softly. I don't think I know how to stop, then learn. His thumb traced her jawline, and Luna felt her entire body ignite. This was dangerous. This was a mistake. This was inevitable. Luna, he whispered. What are we doing? I have no idea. Then his phone, sitting on the pool deck, lit up with an incoming call. The name on the screen made Luna's blood turn to ice. Victoria Cross, wife. She jerked back. Wife? Damien's face went white. It's not what you think. You're married. The words felt like broken glass in her mouth. Technically, yes, but... Luna hauled herself out of the pool, water streaming from her body. You're married. Luna, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you've been lying? That everything you just said was manipulation? She grabbed her towel, wrapping it around herself like armor. God, I'm such an idiot. She left me 2 years ago. Damien climbed out after her, desperate. We've been separated. The divorce is almost final. Almost isn't divorced, Damien. She said his name like a weapon. You let me think you were available. You let me feel things. You feel things? He grabbed her arm gently. Luna, please. Just listen. She wrenched free. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. We're here for work. That's all? Luna, good night, Mr. Cross. She walked away, leaving wet footprints on the white stone. Behind her, she heard him exhale, a sound of such profound frustration it almost made her stop. Almost. In her room, Luna locked the door and slid down against it, her body shaking. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She'd let her guard down. Let herself believe in the fantasy of transformation and second chances. And he was married. On the nightstand, her phone buzzed again. And again, messages from Damien, each one more desperate than the last. She turned the phone off and closed her eyes. Tomorrow they had meetings. Tomorrow she would be professional and distant and perfect. Tomorrow, she would remember why she'd made herself invisible in the first place. Because being seen hurt too much. Morning arrived cruel and bright. Luna stood in her bathroom staring at her reflection. The woman looking back wore her transformation like a costume now. What had felt like power yesterday felt like foolishness today. She dressed in her most severe outfit, pulling her hair back, though not as harshly as before. Some changes couldn't be undone. Damien was already in the living area when she emerged, coffee in hand, his face haggard. He looked like he hadn't slept. Good. Luna, we need to talk before the meetings. We're late. She didn't look at him, gathering her tablet and documents. The car is waiting. I'm not married anymore. Not in any way that matters. She finally met his eyes. Either you're married or you're not. There's no gray area. Victoria left me the day I launched Cross Industries. His voice was flat, reciting facts. She walked out while I was giving the opening speech. Said she couldn't compete with my ambition. He set down his coffee cup with careful control. The separation agreement was signed 2 years ago. We're waiting on the final decree. It's a formality. Why didn't you tell me? Because I haven't told anyone. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. My marriage failed. I failed. That's not something the great Damien Cross admits. Luna felt something crack in her chest, but she hardened herself against it. That's not my problem to solve, Mr. Cross. Now shall we go? The meetings were torture. They sat in conference rooms overlooking the caldera, discussing resort expansions and investment projections, while the tension between them hummed like a live wire. Luna took notes, asked intelligent questions, played her role perfectly, but she felt Damien's gaze on her constantly, heavy and searching. During lunch, the resort's owner, Andreas Pappas, joined them. He was 60, distinguished, with silver hair and eyes that saw too much. You two have an interesting dynamic, Andreas observed, sipping his wine. We work well together, Luna said smoothly. Andreas smiled. That's not what I meant. He leaned back in his chair. I've been married 40 years. I know what unresolved tension looks like. Damien stiffened. Mr. Pappas, I assure you, I'm not judging. Andreas cut him off gently. But I am old enough to give unsolicited advice. Life is short. Pride is expensive. Whatever is broken between you, fix it before it's too late. The words settled over the table like ash. That afternoon, after the meetings concluded, Luna retreated to her room. She needed space, needed air, needed to think without Damien's presence scrambling her thoughts. But around 4 p.m., her phone rang. The resort manager, Ms. Matthews? I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's been an incident. Mr. Cross has been in an accident. Luna's blood turned to ice. What kind of accident? He rented a scooter to explore the island. He lost control on one of the cliff roads. He's been taken to the local medical center. He's conscious, but he's asking for you. She didn't remember the drive, didn't remember anything except the fear clawing at her throat. The medical center was small, clean, smelling of antiseptic and worry. A doctor met her in the lobby, his English accented but clear. Mr. Cross has a concussion and several lacerations. Nothing life-threatening, but he was fortunate. The cliff drop was substantial. Luna found him in a private room, lying in a hospital bed with bandages on his forehead and right arm. His gray eyes found hers immediately. Hi, he said weakly. You're an idiot. Her voice shook. What were you thinking? I needed to clear my head. He tried to sit up, winced. The doctor says I'm fine. You have a concussion, a mild one. Luna moved to his bedside, her anger warring with relief. You could have died. Would you have cared? The question hung between them, sharp and honest. Of course I would have cared. The words came out fierce. You think because I'm angry I want you dead? I don't know what you want from me, Luna. His hand found hers, his grip weak but insistent. I've apologized. I've explained. What else can I do? She looked down at their joined hands. His knuckles were scraped raw, blood seeping through the bandages. Why did you really get on that scooter? She asked quietly. Damien was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. Because the way you looked at me this morning made me feel like the worst person alive. And maybe I am. He closed his eyes. Victoria was right to leave. I don't know how to be human. I only know how to win. That's not true, isn't it? He opened his eyes, and she saw something broken in them. I built an empire and lost everything else. My wife, my friends, even my own assistant hated me without me noticing. I didn't hate you, Luna whispered. What did you feel? The question demanded honesty. Luna took a shaky breath. Invisible. Worthless. Like I'd somehow chosen to disappear because being seen by you hurt too much. Why? Her throat tightened. Because I knew you'd never see me the way I saw you. The confession hung in the air between them, raw and bleeding. Damien's hand tightened on hers. How do you see me? As someone brilliant and terrifying and completely closed off. Someone who makes billion-dollar decisions without flinching but can't look his own assistant in the eye. She paused. Someone I spent 2 years wanting despite knowing it was impossible. His breath caught. Luna, don't. She pulled her hand away. You're concussed. You're vulnerable. Whatever you're about to say, don't say it here. When then? I don't know if there should be a when. The doctor entered before Damien could respond, breaking the moment. He examined Damien, asked questions, finally declared he could be released with proper supervision. Someone needs to monitor him for the next 24 hours, the doctor explained. We'll wake him every few hours. Watch for confusion, vomiting, severe headache. Luna nodded. I'll do it. Back at the villa, she helped Damien to his room. He moved slowly, every step careful. She got him settled in bed, brought water and the pain medication the doctor prescribed. You don't have to stay, he said. Yes, I do. Doctor's orders. Luna, I'm fine. You have a concussion. You're not fine. She pulled a chair beside his bed. I'm staying. Night fell soft and dark outside his windows. Luna sat in the chair, watching him drift in and out of sleep. Every 2 hours, she woke him gently, asked the required questions. "What's your name? Where are you? What year is it?" Each time, his gray eyes found hers with something that looked like gratitude. Around 3 a.m., after she'd woken him for the third time, he didn't close his eyes again. "Tell me about yourself," he said quietly. "Something real. Something I should have asked 2 years ago." Luna considered refusing, considered maintaining the walls, but something about the darkness, the intimacy of keeping vigil, loosened her tongue. "I grew up in foster care," she began. "Moved between homes until I aged out at 18. No family, no safety net." She looked at her hands. "I learned early that being invisible was safer. People can't hurt what they don't see. Luna, I put myself through college working 3 jobs, made myself indispensable. The perfect employee, the one who never complained, never asked for more." She met his eyes. "When you hired me, I thought I'd finally found stability. A place I could stay, and I was willing to make myself small to keep it. I'm so sorry." His voice broke. "I'm so goddamn sorry. I don't want your pity. It's not pity. It's grief." He struggled to sit up, and she moved to help him, propping pillows behind his back. "I'm grieving all the ways I failed you. All the conversations we never had. The person you could have been if I'd just paid attention. That's not on you. I chose to hide. And I chose not to look." They sat in the darkness, the weight of 2 years settling between them. "Can I tell you something?" Damien asked. "Yes." "The day Victoria left, she said I was incapable of love, that I'd chosen success over her, over us, over any chance at real connection." He stared at his bandaged hands. "I told myself she was wrong, that I was protecting our future, but she wasn't wrong, was she?" Luna didn't answer immediately. Finally, "I think you are both protecting yourselves, just in different ways. Do you think people like us can change?" "People like us?" "People who learned to survive by becoming what others needed. People who forgot how to be themselves." Luna felt tears burn behind her eyes. "I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out." Damien reached for her hand again, and this time, she let him take it. "What if we figured it out together?" he whispered. "That's terrifying." "I know." They stayed like that, hands clasped in the darkness, until dawn broke gold and gentle over the Aegean. And for the first time in 2 years, Luna felt like maybe, just maybe, being seen wasn't the worst thing in the world. But that afternoon, everything shattered. Luna was in the villa's kitchen making tea when she heard the front door open. Female voices, sharp and familiar. She walked into the living room and froze. A woman stood there, tall and elegant in a designer dress, her blonde hair perfectly styled. Behind her, resort security looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, Ms. Matthews," Elena said. She insisted, "I'm his wife." The woman's voice was ice and diamonds. "I don't need permission." Luna's world tilted. "Victoria. And you must be the assistant." Victoria's smile was poison. "How convenient that you're both here, together, in a villa." "While he's still married to me," Damien emerged from his room, pale and unsteady. When he saw Victoria, every muscle in his body went rigid. "What are you doing here?" "Saving you from making a catastrophic mistake." Victoria's eyes moved between them, calculating. "Or is it too late for that?" Victoria Cross moved through the villa like she owned it. Maybe once she had owned places like this. Maybe she'd owned everything, including the man standing pale and bandaged beside Luna. "You need to leave," Damien said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "Actually, I don't." Victoria produced a document from her designer bag, placing it on the marble counter with deliberate care. "Our separation agreement has a clause you seem to have forgotten. Any romantic involvement before the final decree voids the financial settlement." Luna felt ice spread through her veins. "What does that mean?" "It means," Victoria purred, "if Damien here pursues a relationship with you or anyone else before our divorce is finalized in 3 weeks, he loses half of everything. The company, the properties, all of it." "That's insane," Luna breathed. "That's what he agreed to." Victoria's smile was sharp. 2 years ago, when he was so desperate to keep me quiet about the company's financial troubles that he'd have signed anything. Damien's face had gone gray. Those troubles were resolved. You know that? Doesn't change the contract. Victoria turned to Luna, her gaze appraising. You're prettier than I expected. I can see why he's interested. But sweetie, you're not worth $50 million. Get out. Damien stepped forward, swaying slightly. Now, I'll go. But understand this. Victoria's voice dropped, vicious. Touch her before that decree is final, and I'll take everything you've built. Every late night, every sacrifice, gone. She swept toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Damien. The tabloids would love this story. Billionaire CEO seduces his assistant while still married. Think about what that does to your precious company's reputation. The door closed behind her with a soft click that felt like a bomb detonating. Silence crashed over them. Is it true? Luna finally asked. The clause? Yes. Damien sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. I was drowning when she left. The company was hemorrhaging money. Investors were pulling out. She said she'd keep quiet about the instability if I gave her what she wanted in the divorce. And you agreed to that clause? I never thought it would matter. He looked up, his gray eyes hollow. I never thought I'd want anyone again. Luna felt something break inside her chest. So this is impossible. For 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks. And if someone sees us together? If Victoria manufactures evidence? Luna shook her head. She's playing a game we can't win. So we wait. We finish the deal here, go home, keep our distance. And then what? Luna's voice cracked. 3 weeks becomes 3 months becomes a year. There's always going to be something, Damien. A board meeting, an investor concern, another reason why we can't. That's not true, isn't it? She moved toward her room, needing space. You chose your company over your marriage. What makes you think you won't choose it over me? Because you're not her. The words exploded from him, raw and desperate. Victoria wanted me to fail. She wanted me small and manageable in hers. But you, his voice broke. You see who I actually am, and you're still standing here. Luna felt tears threatening. I can't be the reason you lose everything. You wouldn't be. She would. It's the same result. Before Damien could respond, Luna's phone rang. Her heart sank when she saw the name. Marcus Chen, Damien's business partner and CFO, she answered, putting it on speaker. Luna, thank God. Marcus's voice was tight with panic. Is Damien with you? I'm here, Damien said. What's wrong? Victoria just called an emergency board meeting. She's claiming you're mentally unfit to run the company. Says you've been making erratic decisions, disappeared to Greece without warning, and are having an inappropriate relationship with your assistant. Luna's blood turned to ice. She can't do that, Damien said. She has no board position. She still owns 15% from the separation agreement. And she's convinced 3 other board members to support her. Damien, they're calling for a vote of no confidence. The phone slipped in Damien's hand. When? Friday. You have 3 days to get back to New York and fix this. The call ended, leaving them in crushing silence. Luna watched Damien process the information, watched him transform from vulnerable to calculating in seconds. This was the man she'd worked for. The predator. The survivor. I'll book us flights tonight, she heard herself say. No. His voice was cold now, executive armor sliding back into place. You're staying here to finish the Santorini deal. Damien, this is exactly what she wanted. To separate us. To make me choose. He stood, unsteady but determined. I won't let her win. By sacrificing the deal, Andreas will understand. This is bigger than one resort. Luna felt fury and grief war inside her. You're doing it again, making decisions without me, treating me like I'm just another piece on your chessboard. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Her voice rose, breaking. You want me to wait, to hide, to make myself small again so you can save your company. And I'll do it, because that's what I always do. But don't pretend this is partnership. Don't pretend we're equals. What are you saying? Luna took a shaking breath. I'm saying maybe Victoria is right. Maybe we're not worth $50 million. Maybe we're not worth anything. You don't mean that, don't I? She grabbed her tablet, her professional mask sliding back into place. I'll stay and close the deal. You go fight your battle, and when this is over, When the divorce is final and the company is secure, we'll both know the truth. What truth? Whether you actually want me, or whether I'm just another victory to claim. The words hung between them like shrapnel. Damien moved toward her, and she saw his hands shaking. Luna, please. Don't do this. Do what? Protect myself? She stepped back. I've been invisible for so long that I forgot how much being seen could hurt. But this, she gestured between them, this isn't worth destroying myself for. I'm not asking you to destroy yourself. Yes, you are. You're asking me to wait in the shadows while you go be the hero. You're asking me to be patient while your ex-wife threatens everything. You're asking me to trust that 3 weeks won't become forever. And you can't do that? Luna felt tears finally spill over. I don't know. I've never had anyone worth trusting before. Damien closed the distance between them, gently cupping her face in his bandaged hands. Then let me be the first. For one heartbeat, Luna let herself lean into his touch. Let herself imagine a world where this was possible, where love didn't require sacrifice, where being seen didn't mean being wounded. Then her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Having fun in paradise? Would hate for these photos to go public. Attached were images from the pool, from last night. From Damien's room, someone had been watching them. Luna pulled away, showing Damien the screen. His face went white. It's her, he breathed. She hired someone to follow us. She has evidence. Luna's voice was hollow. Proof of an inappropriate relationship. Even if nothing happened, these photos destroy everything. We'll fight it. Prove the context. There is no context that saves you. Luna set down her phone with trembling hands. She wins. She's already won. Damien grabbed her shoulders. No, we can still... What? Run away together? Let her take your company? Everything you've built? Luna shook her head. I won't be the reason you lose it all. Then what do we do? Luna felt something harden inside her chest, a decision forming like ice crystallizing in her heart. I quit. What? I quit, effective immediately. She stepped out of his grasp. I'll finish the Santorini deal as a consultant. Then I'm gone. No relationship. No scandal. Nothing Victoria can use against you. Luna, you're being insane. I'm being smart. Her voice steadied, cold and clear. Without me in your life, there's no story. No scandal. Just an assistant who moved on to other opportunities. You can't do this. I already did. She moved toward her room. Go home, Damien. Save your company. Divorce your wife. Live your life. And what about us? Luna stopped in the doorway, her back to him. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. There is no us. There never really was. She closed the door before he could see her break. Inside her room, Luna slid down the wall, silent sobs racking her body. She'd done it. Made the sacrifice. Chosen his survival over her own heart. It was the right decision. It was the only decision. So why did it feel like dying? Outside her door, she heard Damien's ragged breathing. Heard him say her name once, broken and desperate. Then silence. Hours later, Luna emerged to find the villa empty. Damien had gone, left for New York to fight his battle alone. On the kitchen counter, she found an envelope with her name in his handwriting. Inside was a check for $1 million and a single sentence on his personal letterhead. Thank you for saving me. I'm sorry I couldn't save you back. Luna stared at the check. This blood money. This proof that he'd calculated her worth and found a price. She ripped it into pieces and let them fall like snow. Then she called Andreas Pappas and threw herself into work. Because work was safe. Work was controllable. Work couldn't break her heart worse than it was already broken. The Santorini deal closed 3 days later. Luna signed documents with steady hands and smiled professionally at Andreas, who looked at her with something like pity. You're making a mistake, he said quietly as she prepared to leave. Which one? Letting pride cost you love. It's not pride. It's survival. Andreas shook his head. My dear, there's no difference anymore. Luna flew home alone, staring out at clouds that looked like cotton and thinking about how easy it would be to float away into nothing. At JFK, she turned on her phone to find 17 missed calls from Damien and one text message. I chose wrong. I chose the company. I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Below it, a news alert. Damian Cross retains control of Cross Industries. Board votes confidence. He'd won. Saved his empire, defeated Victoria, and lost Luna in the process. She deleted the message and took a cab to her Brooklyn apartment. Inside, everything was exactly as she'd left it. Small and safe, and utterly, devastatingly lonely. Luna stood before her bathroom mirror and looked at the woman staring back. Still transformed, still visible, still invisible in all the ways that mattered. Her phone rang one more time. Damian, she let it ring. And ring and ring. Then she turned it off, climbed into bed, and let the darkness take her. 3 weeks of silence felt like drowning in slow motion. Luna found work easily. Her reputation preceded her. 5 different CEOs offered positions within days of her resignation going public. She chose a tech startup in Brooklyn, close to home, far from Manhattan's steel towers and the ghost of Damian Cross. But distance didn't heal. It just created space for the wound to fester. She wore her transformation like armor now. The clothes, the hair, the confidence. People saw her, noticed her, wanted her. But their attention felt hollow, because the only person whose gaze had ever truly mattered wasn't looking anymore. On a gray Tuesday afternoon, Luna was reviewing contracts when her new assistant knocked softly. "There's someone here to see you." The girl looked nervous. "He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important." Luna's heart stopped. Who? But she knew. She'd always known he'd come. Damian stood in her office doorway looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. His suit was wrinkled, his hair disheveled. The bandage was gone from his forehead, leaving a thin scar that cut through his eyebrow. "Hi," he said. Luna's hands trembled. She clasped them under her desk. "You shouldn't be here." "I know." He stepped inside, and she saw her assistant hovering uncertainly. "Could we have a moment?" Luna nodded, and the door closed softly, leaving them alone. Silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. "The divorce is final," Damian finally said. "As of this morning. Congratulations. Victoria sold her shares, left the country. Last I heard, she's in Monaco with her new fiancé." "Good for her. Luna, please." He moved closer. "Look at me." She forced her eyes up, and the devastation in his gray gaze almost broke her. "I came to apologize," he said quietly. "For everything. For not seeing you when you needed to be seen. For only noticing when you changed. For letting you walk away in Santorini." His voice cracked. "For choosing wrong when it mattered most. You chose what you needed to choose. No. I chose what I was afraid to lose. There's a difference." He pulled something from his jacket pocket, an envelope worn from handling. "This is my resignation from Cross Industries. Signed and dated. I'm stepping down as CEO." Luna's heart stuttered. "What?" "I built that company from nothing, and it became everything. But it's not worth a life alone." He set the envelope on her desk. "I'm done making the same mistake." "Damian, that's insane. You can't just walk away." "Why not?" "You did." The words hit like a slap. Luna stood, moving to the window. Outside, Brooklyn hummed with life. People going to jobs they hated, relationships they'd settled for, dreams they'd abandoned. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "A second chance, a real one, and if I say no, then I accept it." She heard him move closer. "But I had to try, because walking away from you in Santorini was the biggest mistake of my life, and I've spent 3 weeks knowing I'm exactly what Victoria said I was, incapable of love, incapable of putting anyone before the empire." "You're not incapable." Luna turned to face him. "You're just afraid. Terrified," he admitted. "Because every person I've ever cared about has left. My parents, Victoria, and you. Though I gave you every reason to go." He took a shaking breath. "But I'm more afraid of spending the rest of my life wondering what if." Luna felt tears burn behind her eyes. "You hurt me, I know. You made me feel invisible again. Like I only mattered when I was useful. I know." His voice broke. "And I will spend every day trying to make that right if you let me." "How?" The question came out raw. "How do I trust you won't choose the company again? Choose safety over risk? Damien pulled out his phone, tapping a few buttons, then turning the screen toward her. It showed a press release dated that morning. Damien Cross announces departure from Cross Industries. Promotes Marcus Chen to CEO position. Luna's breath caught. You already did it. I did it 3 days after you left Santorini. I just had to wait for the legal process to complete. He pocketed the phone. I don't want the empire, Luna. I want a life. And I want it with you. That's too much pressure. What if we don't work? What if this thing between us burns out and you resent me for what you gave up? Then at least I'll have tried. At least I'll know I chose love over fear. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm not asking you to be my assistant or my therapist or anything except yourself. I'm just asking for a chance. Luna looked at this man, this brilliant, broken, impossibly complicated man, and felt the walls she'd built crumbling. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. I don't know how to do this, how to be with someone who actually sees me. We'll figure it out together. His hand lifted, hovering near her face, asking permission. If you want to. Luna thought about Andreas's words, about pride and survival and the space between. She thought about the woman she'd been, buried under layers of invisibility, and the woman she was becoming, still learning to exist in the light. One condition, she finally said. Anything. We do this slowly. No grand gestures. No rushing. We learn each other like we should have from the beginning. A smile broke across Damien's face, transforming him. Deal. Luna let him touch her face, his palm warm against her cheek. And if you ever treat me like I'm invisible again, you'll make me regret it in ways I can't even imagine. I know. His thumb brushed her jaw. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Luna Matthews. I'm not stupid enough to forget that again. Good. She closed the distance between them, and when their lips met, it felt like coming home to a place she'd never been. His kiss was gentle and desperate and full of promise. Her hands found his hair, his wrinkled collar. The warmth of him finally real. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Damien rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he whispered. I don't know when it started. Maybe the first time you handed me coffee with that look that said you knew I was being an ass. Maybe in Santorini when you walked away to save me. But I love you. And I needed you to know. Luna felt tears slip down her cheeks. I don't know if I love you yet. But I think I could. If you give me time, I'll give you forever. They stood like that, wrapped around each other in her small Brooklyn office, while outside the world continued spinning. That evening, they walked through Prospect Park as autumn leaves crunched underfoot. No plan, no destination. Just two people learning to exist in the same space. Tell me about foster care, Damien said. I want to know everything I missed, so Luna told him. About the homes that weren't homes, the families that weren't families, the way she'd learned to survive by taking up as little space as possible, and Damien told her about his childhood. About parents who loved success more than their son, about building walls so high nothing could hurt him, not realizing he'd trapped himself inside. They talked until the park lights flickered on, and the air turned cold. Come home with me, Damien said. Not to stay. Just for dinner, let me cook for you. You cook? Terribly. But I want to try. Luna laughed, the sound surprising them both. Okay, his apartment was nothing like she'd imagined. Yes, it was a penthouse. Yes, it had views that made her dizzy, but it was also strangely empty. Furniture that looked expensive but unloved. Art on walls that had been chosen by a designer, not a person. It's not much, Damien said, embarrassed. It's honest. Luna moved through the space, seeing him in the emptiness. You really did give everything to the company. I did, but I'm done with that now. He made pasta that was slightly overcooked and sauce that was too salty, and it was the best meal Luna had ever had. They ate on the floor of his living room, sharing wine and stories and the strange intimacy of two people starting over. What happens now? Luna asked as the night deepened. Now we take it one day at a time. Damien's hand found hers. I'll prove I've changed. You'll learn to trust me. We'll make mistakes and figure out how to fix them. That sounds exhausting. It sounds like living. Luna leaned against his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. I quit my new job today. What? After you left. I called my boss and quit. She smiled at his shocked expression. I'm starting my own consulting firm, helping other invisible assistants find their voices. That's amazing. Pride shone in his eyes. You're amazing! I learned from the best. She kissed him softly. Someone taught me that transformation isn't about changing for others. It's about becoming who you always were underneath. Whoever told you that sounds pretty wise. He has his moments. They stayed like that as the city lights sparkled below. Two people who had been invisible in different ways. Finally seen, the path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be struggles, doubts, moments when old fears surfaced and old patterns beckoned. But for the first time in both their lives, they weren't facing the darkness alone. Months later, Luna stood in her new office, sunlight streaming through the windows, when her phone buzzed. A photo from Damien. He was in a community kitchen, teaching underprivileged kids basic business skills. Flour dusted his shirt and his smile was genuine, unguarded. Turns out I'm good at things besides making money. Who knew? Luna smiled, typing back, I knew. I always knew. That evening, they met in the park where they'd walked that first night. Damien had a picnic basket and a blanket and a nervousness that made her heart skip. What's this? She asked. A do-over. He spread the blanket under a tree, its branches bare against the winter sky. Of every moment I should have seen you and didn't. They ate sandwiches and talked about their days. About her new clients and his volunteer work. About the therapy they were both doing, learning to heal old wounds. I have something to tell you, Damien said, as stars began to appear. Luna tensed. What? I love you more today than I did yesterday. And I'll love you more tomorrow than I do today. He took her hand. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. Luna felt warmth spread through her chest. I love you too. The words came easily, honestly, without fear. Damien's breath caught. You do? I do. I probably have for a while. I was just too scared to admit it. He pulled her close. And they lay on the blanket looking up at the stars. Two people who had learned that being invisible was easier, but being seen was worth the risk. Thank you, Damien whispered. For what? For not giving up on me. For teaching me what matters. He kissed her temple. For showing me that sometimes the greatest success is the thing you almost missed. Luna smiled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and sure. She thought about the woman she'd been. The thick glasses and severe bun, the armor of invisibility. That woman had been necessary. That woman had survived. But this woman, the one in Damien's arms, was learning to do more than survive. She was learning to live. And that made all the transformation, all the pain, all the risk worth it. Because in the end, being seen wasn't the same as being wounded. Being seen was being loved. And love, Luna had finally learned, was the bravest thing of all. The end.